I want you to think about when kids get stressed out and they get dysregulated, they go into that fear receptor and they go into a fight or flight mode. I'm sure you all have heard that. They actually go into a freeze first, and then they determine, is it safer to run or flee, or is it safer to fight? And so at that freeze point, you have to make a determination on which one you're going to do. In this particular article where it says police arrest 8-year-old boy after outburst, I want you to see how the actions by the adults are pushing this child to either to oscillate between fight or flight. It says police arrest 8-year-old boy after outburst. An 8-year-old boy was taken from Rawlsburg Elementary in handcuffs Tuesday after he lashed out at his teacher, an assistant principal, and a police officer. Major Stan Stout said the boy became angry after he was told he couldn't go outside to recess to play with the other students Tuesday afternoon. The police report didn't mention why the boy was kept inside. Stout said the boy tried to leave, but was stopped by his teacher. That's when he began overturning desks and throwing chairs. He then lashed out at school staff called in to help to control him, headbutting a teacher and kicking an assistant principal whom he also threatened to bite. When police arrived, the boy opened the window and tried to escape. As he was pulled back in, the boy kicked the officer in the head. Neither the school staff nor the officer could calm down the boy. Stout said the boy was about 4 feet tall and weighed 75 to 80 pounds. The boy was charged with disorderly conduct and assault and battery. All right, I'm going to break this down because this gives us a little more application of the principles we've learned so far. First of all, you have an 8-year-old, and we're going to call him Billy. Any kid that gets this violent has to be a Billy. We don't know the history, but certainly we've got a kid who has a high sensitivity to stress, a child who has a very challenged nervous system, and they are compromised in their ability to regulate on their own, to self-regulate. So it says that this 8-year-old boy he became angry. All right, so he gets angry. Which part of the brain's he in? He's now down more in the midbrain. He becomes angry, which is a very, very strong emotion. He probably doesn't know how to handle that kind of emotion. And he was told that he couldn't go outside to recess to play with the other students. Our kids, especially our Billies, they know that they are different. They know that they don't fit in. They know they're a little quirky. And, I'm just being realistic. Listen, they are a little quirky. And I say that in the most loving way possible. But that new normal does look different than Andy. And you know what? Our kids know it. They're very sensitive to that. And every kid at 8 years old, every kid in general, wants to fit in. So that he already knows he doesn't fit in. So now this child feels rejected, right? He is pulled out and he can't go with the other kids. So now he feels different. You think that might be a trigger for Billy? Absolutely. For most of our Billies, that is a dead-on trigger. That they don't feel like they fit in. And then we do stuff like this, and it really exasperates that for them. And so he's told he can't go outside. And then he gets angry. Now, I'm not against the boundaries of not letting Billy go outside. And you know what? Maybe Billy, because of his level of dysregulation, maybe he doesn't need to go out in the playground. So my argument is not about the quote consequence. My argument is about how this all unfolded. And so what if the teacher goes to Billy and says, "Hey, Billy, you were acting out in the morning during class, and I'm really concerned that you're going to have a hard time in recess. So, Billy, I want you just to stay in with me. I know you're going to be upset. Giving Billy permission. I know you're going to be upset, and it's going to feel like you don't fit in, and it's going to feel like, I'm pulling you out, and you're not connected to the other students, and that's going to be hard. But I want to make sure you're okay." You see that delivery? That delivery, I gave a consequence to say you're not going outside, but I did it in the most loving, compassionate, empathetic way. And I took responsibility as the teacher to say, "Billy, I want to make sure you're okay. I want to make sure that you're in a safe environment." That's a very different approach from what I'm assuming happened in this example. Because what typically happens is what? "Billy, you didn't behave, therefore you're not going out to recess." Bam. And all of a sudden we have a kid out of control. So now Billy says, "Oh, you're not in his own mind, he says, "You're not in charge of me, I'm in charge of me." And he tries to leave. He says, "I'm going out to recess." because no one's in charge of me. That's how Billy thinks. He has trust issues. He has a quote problem with authority. And I say that in quotes because of course he has a problem with authority. He has felt vulnerability at a very early age. He doesn't trust adults. And so he's not going to let people just be in charge of him. And he's going to decide, I'm going to go outside and play. Well, then the teacher stops him. Now, how did the teacher stop him? Did you think that she did it in a loving, kind, empathetic way? I'm thinking not, because I've been in too many schools where I see the teacher says, Billy, you're not going outside. You can't decide this. I'm in charge. And she gets more into that controlling mode. Well, now Billy can't escape. He can't flee, so he starts fighting. He starts what? Overturning desks and throwing chairs. And the article literally says this. It says that's when school staff was called in to control him. That's the defining moment here. Because if you have adults coming in to try to control him, that's the wrong mindset. When I talked about this being a different paradigm of thinking, a different way of looking at this, we see adults coming in seeing a bad child. What if we had adults coming in that saw that he was stressed out, that he was in his midbrain, and those adults came in to help regulate him? That's a very different approach. If a teacher comes in or a behavioral specialist comes in and says, Billy, hey, I am just here to make sure you're okay. We're all going to be okay, Billy. I'm just here for you. Versus, Billy, stop it now. You're in trouble. You're going to do this. You're going to timeout. Whatever we usually say. So what if the adults came in relationship to take responsibility for Billy, to help him self-regulate? Very different. Well, that's not what happened. And then this child went into fight mode again, and he elevated his fighting, headbutting a teacher and kicking an assistant principal. So now we've added more fear and more fear. This child gets more and more dysregulated. Can you see what part of the brain he's slipping into? Sure. Then he tries to go into escape mode again. He tries to flee by crawling out a window. I don't know what floor it was, but any kid trying to crawl out a window, it's not safe. So now the whole situation has gone to a place of unsafety. And this is my point, is that when we can work with kids from a level of relationship, from the perspective of regulation versus dysregulation, we can actually stop situations from going out of hand like this. It doesn't mean it's the magic purple pill, and Billy's never going to be easy to deal with, but it's not going to increase to the high level that this kid starts crawling out the window where we have to bring a policeman in. And so the police, of course, then says, Billy, you got to get back in there. And so he grabs Billy and pulls Billy back into the school. Well, any child that is that fired up from a sensory standpoint, his nervous system is on fire. You touch a kid whose body system is absolutely dysregulated, they're going to absolutely fight back. The minute you put a hand on a kid who's super dysregulated, they are not going to be able to take that as loving, comfort, and nurturing. And I'm sure that's kind of not what this police officer did. But even if the police officer got to the point where he had to pull that kid in, could he say, Billy, this is just unsafe. I'm pulling you in. He pulls Billy in, but he says, Billy, I'm backing up. I'm backing up. You're okay. You're okay. So the police officer knows to give Billy that space because he understands the dynamics. He understands how the nervous system gets so fired up and out of control. And so it pains me every time I see this type of article because I know that the situation could have been different. It really could have been from the very start. The way that the teacher, again, she can hold that boundary and probably does need to hold the boundary that the Billy doesn't go out to the playground. Because listen, if you put Billy like this out in the playground, what's going to happen? It's going to be crazy, right? He's going to be aggressive. He's not going to be able to be social. Social skills take a lot of energy. They take a lot of development to be able to do that. But it's how you implement the boundaries. So I hope this also, besides showing you a little bit about the difference between, controlling a child and regulating a child, it also gives you the understanding of the difference between consequence and boundary. They're essentially the same outcome. It's how you deliver it